The Revolutionary War was won, but the United States in 1789 was barely a nation. The 13 new states were broke, divided, and holding on to a union that could fracture at any moment. The ratified Constitution offered a framework, but left a massive void at the top. It called for a president, yet provided no real-world instructions. The stakes were absolute. Too little authority meant chaos. Too much recreated the British monarchy they'd just defeated. To navigate this incredibly narrow path, the Electoral College made a unanimous choice. They called upon George Washington. Washington assumed an office that was entirely blank. Because there was no manual, every single decision he made, from how he signed a letter to how he enforced a border, would permanently encode the DNA of the American Republic. Defeating the British military was difficult. His true historical test was building the mechanics of the executive branch from absolute scratch. One of Washington's first deliberate architectural choices was creating a system that isn't even mentioned in the Constitution, the executive cabinet. Traditional monarchies consolidated power into a single ruler. Washington engineered a structure that distributed decision-making across a network of advisors. He intentionally filled this network with brilliant but conflicting minds, seating Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson, men with opposite visions, at the same table. This structural friction generated intense ideological warfare, birthing the nation's first rival political factions that threatened to split the fragile government in half. To contain this volatile energy, Washington adopted a strict defense mechanism. He remained completely independent, projecting national unity above the fray. Throughout his 8 years in office, he never joined a political faction. To this day, he is the only U.S. president to govern without a party affiliation. The cabinet system functioned as an engineered shock absorber, processing intense ideological warfare without destroying the executive branch. This carefully balanced system soon faced its ultimate physical stress test, the Whiskey Rebellion of 1794. Farmers in western Pennsylvania violently refused to pay a new federal excise tax on distilled spirits. Up to this point, the federal government had never proven it could actually force citizens to comply with its laws. Washington responded by mobilizing nearly 13,000 militiamen, placing himself at their head, and marching directly into Pennsylvania to suppress the uprising. He had to strike a precise constitutional balance. He needed to project enough overwhelming military strength to end the defiance, while ensuring the federal response didn't turn into the tyrannical bloodshed of a king crushing his subjects. The rebels dispersed without a major battle. By resolving the crisis decisively and legally, Washington shifted public perception, cementing the supremacy of federal law over state-level defiance. The successful suppression of the rebellion transformed the U.S. Constitution into ironclad, enforceable law. By 1796, Washington held unquestioned executive power. The American public fully expected him to continue serving as president until the day he died. Instead, he made the unthinkable decision to voluntarily walk away. By stepping down, he established the permanent precedent of a peaceful transfer of power. Before he left, he published his farewell address, leaving a final, written blueprint for the citizens of the United States. The text contains a severe warning. He cautioned that intense partisan loyalties and geographic divides would eventually tear the new Union apart. He also laid out a strict foreign policy strategy of non-entanglement, urging the fragile republic to steer clear of the endless wars consuming European powers. By resigning, Washington established the presidency as a temporary civic duty, ending the era where executive power meant lifelong rule. He returned to his Mount Vernon estate in Virginia, firmly removing himself from the federal power structure he had just built. His death in December 1799 officially marked the end of the founder's immediate physical oversight of the government. Yet the framework he left behind held fast: the advisory cabinet, the physical enforcement of federal supremacy, and the peaceful transfer of power. These precise precedents remain the operating system of the executive branch today. George Washington's greatest triumph was engineering a self-sustaining political machine designed to survive perfectly well without him.